Okay, so this was last Saturday, 12 June. Brother Jiren was sharing on his lessons and his inspirations from international disaster relief. In 2004, Brother Jiren took the brave decision to leave Malaysia and steered his life in a very different direction on a very different year. In many instances, he saw the various depths of despair, but in all of them, he also saw hope, bravery, strength, and extraordinary loving care. Brother Jiren implemented Tzu Chi's signature humanitarian remedy to bring harmony to affected communities. Through local volunteerism and participation, victims redeemed their dignity and started to have faith and hope for the future of their families. The principles embedded in every mission are directness, respect, and priority. Strengthened by Tzu Chi's massive volunteers, we have timeliness and practicality. This is done without care of religion or race. The principles are standard in each and every one of Tzu Chi's relief cases. Brother Jiren shared pictures of misery and conditions so horrible and expressed gratitude to our blue and white volunteers that are so responsible. To take on any task, be it big or small, no matter the inconvenience, easing the victim's pains and sorrows with deep and heartfelt benevolence. When you relieve the soul of its aches and not just the current physical problem, then you set the community for success and for more positivities to blossom. Love and care, although intangible, can be felt and will permeate the toughest men. Even the Myanmar junta's hearts can melt. Through farms and cities and schools and devastated communities, the message of care and giving is strong. Tzu Chi's mission is to heal the world through the power of the human God. Then Master Tzu Chi shared with us a story about Brother Jing Wei. Wei was born with physical disabilities and very early on diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy. His forelimbs and trunk suffered severe weaknesses and affected his mobility. His grandma knew his upbringing had to shift to strengthening his mental capability. With optimism, self-confidence, and positivity, physical pain can be transcended. Thankfully, these lessons were happily received and Wei comprehended. His demeanor and attitude towards his life's challenges is worth many praise. He maneuvers through the days as best he can with independent grace. He studies hard and gets scholarship whenever he can. He has guidance and encouragement from teachers. What a lucky man. He gives talks to inspire others not to give up in this precious life that we are given. He is a powerful reference for people who are down to build a spiritual aspiration. Master Tzu Chi sums up Wei's life as that which is difficult and challenging. But through his bravery in solving the challenges, he is both encouraging and inspiring. We can all take the sharing and juxtapose into our personal lives. Then we can really make some mental changes to not just exist, but to contribute and strive. This is it from me this morning. Thank you so much for listening to me.
感恩 Sister Tzu Chi for the wonderful summary. Indeed, truly amazing. We are very grateful. Yeah, that's the last week's summary. Okay, very good morning, brothers and sisters. Good morning, Abode Masters. We are very grateful today to have with us Brother Johan, who will be sharing on these 4 noble truths and 4 great vows. Without much introductions, everyone I'm sure knows that Brother Johan is a very important team member in Dharma as Water team. It has benefited many of us in English group as we can't understand Chinese, and many of the very important books in Tzu Chi English are produced by these great teams. We understand also that they are also in the midst of transcripting 2 other sutras, the Earthly Treasury, as well as the Medicine Sutra. So we really look forward to all these wonderful publications. And okay, without much ado, let us invite Brother Johan to share with us this morning. Over to you, Brother. Karan.
Thank you so much. Dear Dharma Master Zheng, dear Dharma Masters of the Abode, it's such an honor to be in your presence. Also, dear brothers and sisters in Malaysia and around the world, in Taiwan, wherever you might be, thank you so much for the invitation to share with you today. I actually shared with you about my life back in August, if I remember correctly. I think it was August 22 last year. And then I mentioned that there was a Dai drama that was ongoing at the time. And you can still find it, just search for Dai drama and Amazing Grace. Then you can watch a little, I mean, there's a video and there is a 10-episode drama on my life. Well, not really my life, it's actually the life of my late wife, Grace. But you have a lot of my story there as well. So this time I will not talk much about my own story. So this is one of the posters for the diadrama. And I think the inspiration for that photo came from these photos. So this is what I looked like together with my late wife, Grace, back in 2008. And this is what I look like now. Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you. So throughout this, please feel free to type something in the chat. If I miss it, then maybe Sister Tzu Chi or Sister Lily can let me know that there is something in the chat, so I can respond to it. Thank you so much. All right, so as was mentioned, I am a member of the Dharma's Water team. So we are one of the bigger translation teams in Tzu Chi. We have translated quite a few books. There are actually close to 60 books in English, Tzu Chi books in English. So make sure that if you have a Jing bookstore nearby, make sure that they carry the English books. So there is actually quite a lot of Dharma resources for English speakers at this point. And I'm very, very proud and honored and happy to let you know that the Sutra of Infinite Meanings is now available in English. These are the gray volumes, the complete teachings and commentary books, which contain very close to the entire Dharma talks that Master Zheng gave on the Sutra of Infinite Meanings. And we're actually we're pretty much done with the Lotus Sutra introductory chapter. So that one, it's 3 volumes. That one is ready to be published, and it will be published as soon as Jing Publishing is ready. It should be a little bit later this year. And we're also working right now on the finalization steps of the Medicine Buddha Sutra, which is, of course, very, very important, especially during these times of pandemic, and also the Sutra of Profound Gratitude to Parents, which is a really, really amazing sutra. So yeah, the Sutra of Infinite Meanings is already available. This is one of my absolute favorite works by Master Zheng. It was actually one of the first books by Master that I read in Chinese, not the gray version, the yellow version, which is the same lectures that are collected in this gray version. And the Lotus Sutra introductory chapter is coming up. That is based on the Dharma talks. So you can also just watch the Dharma talks that are right now on replay. So it started back last year from the first episode. So I can definitely recommend to just go back and watch on YouTube, watch the reruns for Master's Dharma talks. They are absolutely amazing, and all the translations have been updated as well. So yeah, we are very, very grateful to have had this opportunity, or have this opportunity to work with Dia TV and Jing Publishing to help with the translation of Master's talks. There is one more announcement that I want to make before I get into the topic of today's sharing, and that is, you might know, those of you who speak Chinese, that there is this amazing website called principles.tzu.org.tw, which has a collection, a vast collection of teachings from Master, which are ordered chronologically and thematically, with all the most important phrases that Master has shared and all the most important events that Tzu Chi has responded to throughout history. And this website is now available in English. It's called Tzu Chi Dharma, Tzuchi Dharma.org, tzuchidharma.org. And here it's organized in the same way as the Chinese. It has a little bit of a facelift in terms of the look. So you have the sections on faith, vows, and practice. And the practice section, it's the chronological history of Tzu Chi's work. And that one is currently on this website, the English website, up to 1969 or 1970, I believe. But it will, in due course, we will have the entire Chinese website. It will all be in English, and this, we're talking about over 600,000, 60多万 Chinese characters. So this is a massive, massive translation work. It corresponds to roughly 6 volumes, 6 entire volumes of the Grey Books. So it's an amazing amount of information, and it's really, really wonderful, and it's a spectacular work to have collected all of this information by the, I believe it's the department of the archive department at the abode that have collected all this information. So it's really, really wonderful. So I really recommend going to tzuchidharma.org and browse around and enjoy and just revel in this amazing resource of Dharma teachings from Master Cheng. So with that, I would like to go into the main topic of my sharing, which is the Four Noble Truths and the Four Great Vows. And this is something that is very, very close to my heart. The Four Noble Truths, as you know, I mean, you can see on the picture here how many bhikshus are there. It's 5. So this is showing the scene in the Jeta Grove, the very first Dharma talk that the Buddha gave after his enlightenment. And he talked about the Four Noble Truths, and he had to turn the Dharma wheel of the Four Noble Truths 3 times in order for all 5 of these disciples, the very start of the Sangha, to gain realization and attain arahathood. So this was a spectacular moment in history of the world, in history of Buddhism. The Four Noble Truths, so important. And then we have the Four Great Vows, which are the very vows that all Buddhas have to make in order to attain Buddhahood. You might know that each Buddha had their own vows. For example, Medicine Buddha had 12 vows. I believe Amitabha had 48 vows. But the four great vows are the vows that all Buddhas have. All Buddhas have to make these vows when they practice in the causal realm as bodhisattvas in order to attain Buddhahood in the future. And the teachings that I've based this on is one of my very favorite Lotus Sutra episodes. Is episode number 461. It has been, the rerun has already been broadcasted, so I can really recommend go in and watch that episode. It's very spectacular. And then Master talks about this also in episode 883. So really recommend to take a look at these episodes. So the truth of suffering, the fact is, in life there's so much suffering. And the Buddha categorized this suffering as 8 sufferings: birth, aging, illness, and death, each of which is tremendous suffering. Then we have the additional 4, not getting what we want, parting with those we love, meeting those we hate, and the raging 5 aggregates. And I believe that if you were here from the very start of this morning session, then one of the brothers was giving a very amazing sharing, which included the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, action, and consciousness. So these are the parts that compose our self, and that self is giving tremendous suffering. So we have those 8 sufferings. And I would like now to actually run a little poll with all of you to see which of these sufferings have you personally, do you have personal experience with? I'm really curious, because so I would really like to know this. So if you can please run the poll.
Okay, run the poll, Brother Kang.
Thank you. Yes, I can see now. Good, good. So I'm sure that we all have experience of birth, but we might not remember it. Then we have illness, aging, illness, death, not getting what we want, parting with those we love, meeting those we hate, and of course the raging 5 aggregates. So I will give you another 10 seconds to choose as many as you want that you have had experience with. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can please end the poll and share the results with everyone, because I'm curious to see this. Wow, we can really tell that all of these sufferings, we've all had personal experience with a lot of these. And I think parting with those who love seems to be the very most common one. And there's also illness, and there is the raging 5 aggregates. Thank you so much for participating in this poll. And now, since all of us seem to have some experience with these 8 sufferings, so I would like to launch another poll to see which of the 8 sufferings do you personally think is the worst. I'm just curious again to see this. Can you please launch that? Do we have another poll?
Sister Tzu Chi.
Yeah, sorry, brother. I'm trying to. Okay. All right. Second poll launching now. Can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And this one is really difficult, but yeah, just select the one that you think might be the very worst. And I give you another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So please end the poll and share the result. So illness and parting with those we love have exactly the same number of votes here. And then quite a few people considered the raging 5 aggregates, and some considered death. Thank you so much. It's really wonderful to get to know a little bit of what all of you are thinking about suffering. It's the very beginning of the understanding of Buddhism lies in the truth of suffering. So I believe, as we could see in the poll, all of us have personal experience of suffering. And for me personally, by far, the period of the greatest suffering for me was watching my late wife as she was struggling with illness. And the very most extremely painful period was during the almost 4 months when she was in the ICU. She was not able to communicate in any way. She could open her eyes, but she could not. I mean, we tried to ask her to blink, to give response to questions, but that was not even possible. Her eyes would follow if we showed her a video screen. For example, with the video of her little nephews, her eyes would follow the screen, but that was the only extent to which we could communicate. The only way that she could communicate with us was really through a heartbeat. So you see the heartbeat monitor up there. we could tell when she got more agitated because her heartbeat would increase. So we could tell if she experienced, if she understood what we were talking about, if we said something that she really cared about, her heartbeat would go up. So I really believe that she was conscious during that time, but she had no way of conveying what she wanted to say. So this kind of suffering also, of course, it was a really difficult period for me as well. Seeing her suffering so much was really terrible. And I was also, I was always taking the night shift because her mother would take the day shift and I would take the night shift. So I experienced a lot of, in my own body, I started to get irregular heartbeat, which still now comes up sometimes if I'm in a very stressed out situation. The fatigue on top of the uncertainty, it was a truly terrible period in some ways, but it was also a period of much gratitude when knowing that I could accompany her, I could hold her hand, hopefully give her a little bit of comfort and just be there and spend that time, which of course I knew might be the last time that we would have together, together with my late wife. So it was a period of tremendous suffering, but also of gratitude. And then of course, when she passed away on March 30th, 2013, experiencing the suffering of parting with those who love, it is truly tremendous suffering. So I actually picked that as the greatest suffering for me personally, the greatest suffering. So I believe that this experience, in a way, it really propelled my wish to engage in spiritual practice, to learn about and understand what is life, as Master often says, where do we come from and where are we going? And also to try to raise my own level of spiritual presence and understanding, and also something that really propelled me to wishing to do more for other people, to spend my life in service. So I believe for me personally, this experience of suffering was a tremendous, maybe boost is a way to put it, in my wish to practice. But there's also, in many of us, before this happened, before 2011, when Grace got sick, I had never experienced suffering. My life was so smooth. I had never experienced suffering, except for the very minor sufferings that we all have in our daily life. So what if that's the case? How can we truly understand the First Noble Truth? Master has this very amazing method that she always talks about, and that is to witness suffering to realize our blessings. And the way we do this is by going out and serving the people that are in suffering, whether disaster survivors, people who need medical aid, or just going to families that are experiencing hardship. We see their suffering, we deeply immerse ourselves in that suffering, and we realize our blessings, and that wish to practice will naturally rise. So this brings us to the first great vow. As we experience suffering and we get this very deep understanding of what suffering means, we cannot help but realize that all beings suffer. So those of us who have never experienced the suffering of illness or aging or death, and maybe we have never lost anyone, never parted with those we love. We don't really have any enemies. I mean, none of these. We still experience the suffering of the 5 raging aggregates, meaning the suffering that comes from having a self, stress, anxiety, the anxiety that comes from having too many choices. I mean, all of these things, we all experience suffering. So when we realize this, then we realize that there are countless sentient beings, and we want to relieve the suffering of all of them. And that is the first great vow. When we make this first great vow, then we are already on the path toward Buddhahood. We made the first out of the 4 great vows. So the second noble truth is the truth of causation. So what is the cause of this suffering? So the way that it's described in Chinese, they use the word Ji. That's what we translate as causation, because in Sanskrit, this is actually the same word. In the English translation of the word Ji is accumulation. So the cause of suffering is accumulation. And what is it an accumulation of? So there are 2 ways that Master explains this. And we'll use one in one case and one in another case. And I mean, this is the traditional, the way that the Buddha explained it. There are these 2 things that accumulate. And if you look really deeply into it, I believe that they're actually one and the same. But just for ease of explanation and ease of discussion, let us make them into 2. So one is karmic forces, and one is afflictions. And of course, you all know the 5 poisons, the 5 deepest afflictions, often put as the 3: greed, anger, and ignorance, and then we can add arrogance and doubt. So those afflictions have accumulated throughout countless lifetimes in the past, as well as our current lifetime right now. And we also have all these karmic forces. Every thought we think, every word we say, every action we take results in karmic forces that are stored in our 8th consciousness, our storehouse consciousness. The seed of everything that we have done, thought, or said in our lives, it becomes the karmic forces that will propagate our karma into our next life, as well as our current life. Karmic forces, I'm sorry, I'm I feel like I'm lecturing right now. It's really meant to be a sharing, but I'm just so excited about this amazing Dharma that Master is teaching to us. So please don't take me, I'm just trying to convey what I learned from Master's teachings. So there are 2 kinds of karmic forces, and one is the individual karma. And the way that this is often put is that individual karma, the key to that is our habitual tendencies. And I will come back to that in a second about habitual tendencies and our relationship. So the way that some people, when we meet them, we just really like them. And some people, when we meet them, we just cannot stand them. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one who have this kind of experience. And I'm sorry to say that it still happens to me when I meet someone that it's just something about that person that really annoys me. It's very rare, fortunately, but I mean that the way that it's explained in Buddhism is that this is due to our past karma. Maybe we met in a past life, maybe we had some kind of conflict, and maybe something happened that when we meet in this life, we immediately have this particular bias toward this person. It can be a positive bias or a negative bias. And then there is the collective karma, which includes things like the environment and the culture of the place that we are in. And I want to share about 2 examples of this that I have personal experience of. And one is the Haiti earthquake in 2010. This earthquake was absolutely horrifying. It happened so close to Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti. And so it basically tore down the entire city. And incidentally, just around a couple of weeks of the Haiti earthquake, there was an earthquake in Chile, which was almost 10 times as strong. And that earthquake made only minimal physical damage and very low death count. Whereas in Haiti, the death count was in the hundreds of thousands. So there were, I believe it was about 250,000 people that passed away in the Haiti earthquake. And of course, one reason for this difference is the quality of the buildings. I mean, as they sometimes say, earthquakes don't kill people, it's buildings that kill people. Because when you're in a building and the building comes down on top of you, you will be crushed. If you're out under the trees, an earthquake, I mean, it's scary, you have the shaking of the earth, but that's all that happens. So building codes is tremendously important. It's a part of our collective karma. Another thing in Haiti, and I'm really sorry to sound a little bit negative right now, and I wouldn't want to do that, but it is the fact that Haiti has had a history of very, very poor management. So the governance in Haiti has been very oppressive. It has been chaotic. It has been corrupted. And it has resulted in a people that, where many people, they are so fearful that if they have a chance to get something, they will fight for that chance. So you can see in this photo, if you have it on full screen, you should be able to see that this is a group of people, maybe a couple of hundred people that are at the distribution. And what you see in the forefront here is military with the UN blue helmets who are trying to control the crowd. And these kinds of scenes, I mean, any time when we were in Haiti for the earthquake relief, we always had to have UN protection whenever we had a distribution. And I mean, with time, this gradually changed. I mean, the way that Tzu Chi volunteers, the kind of respect, love, and gratitude that Tzu Chi volunteers showed to the Haitians, to the recipients, and the kind of respect that Tzu Chi had toward the participants in our Work for Food and Work for Cash programs, and the volunteers, the local volunteers. I'm definitely not saying that this is something, a matter of all Haitians. There are many, many Haitians who are absolutely wonderful, and some of my very, very good friends are Haitians in Haiti. But we could really see the change in the Haitian care recipients as time went on, and as they started to realize that when they come to a Tzu Chi distribution, there is enough for everyone. And the way that the Tzu Chi volunteers gave the relief is so filled with dignity that they can feel their self-worth being elevated. So clearly, I mean, this collective karma is something that can be changed, but it takes long and persistent effort. Compare this now with the Philippines, another horrifying event that happened in 2013, Typhoon Hualien, which was at the time the biggest and strongest typhoon ever to have made landfall. And the result was absolutely disastrous. This is aerial photo or satellite photo of Tacloban in the Philippines. This is before. You see all these structures along the coastline here. This is where people are living. And then after the shockwave from the typhoon came in, you see that all these structures are destroyed, every single one of them. And you can even see here that there is boats, a huge container ship that was thrown onto shore right on top of where there were buildings before. So this was also an absolutely horrifying event, and I believe about 6,000 people passed away in this typhoon. So this was also a terrible natural disaster, and it caused incredible damage to the areas that were lying close to the coast. Damage that is just as bad as the one in Haiti. You can see that there is debris piled up 1 floor high across the entire city. But looking at the way that the people in the Philippines, the smiles that they have, and the orderliness and the graciousness of the people in the Philippines, there is just no comparison. You can see this is, on this site, we have 12,000 people. There is no police, no military, no need for that. It's 12,000 people that are participants in our Cash for Work program there. And you can see they had made this board, and you would see this all over the crowd, where it says Salamat Tzu Chi, thank you Tzu Chi. So for the people in the Philippines, after this disaster, Tzu Chi came in and we started this Cash for Work program, and they cleaned up the entire city. They were working so hard to clean up the entire city. And now their life is back to normal, and it's better than before because the community is stronger. So this disaster, because they had a different collective karma, so this disaster could actually bring about improvement in their life. If you look at Haiti, I'm very extremely sad to say that looking at Haiti, it has not improved much since the earthquake, because the underlying factors were so powerful and so strong. So we can really see the power of the causes of suffering when looking at different disasters and looking at the people that we encounter. So the other part, so we were talking about how I was talking about collective karma, but there's also the individual karma. And one way that Master talks about individual karma is that it results in habitual tendencies. So everything that we do, every thought we think, every word we say is stored not out in the world. Karma is not like, it's not stored in the universe. It's stored in our own consciousness, in the eighth consciousness. And what does it become in the eighth consciousness? It becomes habitual tendencies. So when we think a thought, oh, I really don't like that person. I really don't like that person. And then when we encounter that person, we're all smiles and, oh yeah, you're so good. The fact is that that thought already created a seed for a habitual tendency of disliking this person, or a habitual tendency of resentment or contempt, which will harm us in the future. So karma is not just about actions. It's not just about the effect that we have on the outer world. It's also about our thoughts, what happens inside our own mind, and the habitual tendencies that we form and that we cultivate within ourselves. Because the fact is that whether we are aware of it or not, we are cultivating. So we can put effort into our cultivation and really try to cultivate toward the good side, or we can just let our cultivation run free, and we might unknowingly cultivate toward negative habitual tendencies. So Master says that spiritual practice is a matter of changing our habitual tendencies, and that is the key to spiritual practice. So when we see all of this, we realize that there are all these afflictions in the world. There are endless afflictions, and we will naturally vow to eliminate them all. So once we've been able to eliminate all these afflictions, then we are almost there at Buddhahood. So this is the second great vow, and it follows naturally from having a very thorough understanding of the truth of causation. So now I will actually jump, and I will explain why in a little bit. So the fourth noble truth is the truth of the path. So we have the truth of suffering, truth of causation, truth of cessation, and the truth of the path. This is how it's usually taught. And this was the way that the Buddha taught it at the Jeddah Grove. but I will jump to talk about the truth of the path before I get to the truth of cessation. And you will know why in a little bit. So when we talk about the truth of the path, in the traditional way of explaining Buddhism and the way that the Buddha taught at the Jeta Grove, using skillful means, he taught about the Eightfold Noble Path. And the Eightfold Noble Path is so important in Buddhism that the most recognized symbol of Buddhism, the wheel with 8 spokes, is a symbol of the Eightfold Noble Path. And some of you might have memorized these: right views, thinking, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and samadhi. And some of you might not have, because Master very, very rarely talks about the Eightfold Noble Path. And when she does, it's almost always in the context of the 37 practices to enlightenment, which are considered to be small vehicle practices. Why are they small vehicle practices? Because they focus on ourselves, on our own livelihood, on our own use, our own thinking, and our own ability to focus that brings about samadhi. So Master usually, when she talks about the truth of the path, she usually doesn't talk about the Eightfold Noble Path. I mean, this is a very, very important practice, and it's one of the foundational practices for Buddhism to keep these 8 in mind. But the way Master usually talks about it is in terms of the Bodhisattva path. And now I'm saying things that you all know, so please bear with me. But the Bodhisattva path, it's about cultivating compassion and wisdom in parallel, or it's sometimes put as blessings and wisdom in parallel. And Master has this beautiful image of compassion and wisdom, or blessings and wisdom, as being 2 feet that we need in order to walk forward, or 2 wings that we need in order to fly. And I really love this. Yes, Sister Stephanie, you have a question. So please type your question and I will get back to it, and I will keep talking while you type. So I will get back to your question. So the way that we can do this is by going among people, and Master always talks about 入人群, so going among people, to work with people and to help people in suffering. And the way that Master, the sentence that Master has said, and this is actually one of the sentences on the Tzu Chi Dharma site, we gain joy through taking action. This is blessing. We gain freedom through being understanding. This is wisdom. So blessings is something that comes to us when we take action and gain joy. And wisdom is what we gain when we have skillful understanding and are able to relieve ourselves of all our afflictions. About if so, I think right effort and what we do wrong is that, if we try to do the right thing, but then it turns out to be the wrong thing, is that still wrong? That was your question, right, Sister Stephanie? So if our intention is good, but the result is not good, then is what we're doing still wrong? I think this is a really wonderful question, and maybe after my sharing, the Dharma Master might have something to say about this. I mean, the way that I would think about it personally is that this comes back to this compassion and wisdom. So we do something out of compassion, but we don't have the wisdom to do it in a way that the result is what we hoped for. Maybe, we really love this person, we really want to help them, so we give them advice that they have not asked for, and the result is that they just get upset with us. I'm sure, it has happened to me. I'm sure this might have happened to others of you. Maybe that's the kind of situation that you're talking about. it really means that I believe, for me, that it means that my wisdom is not there yet. And maybe the way to ameliorate that is to learn more Dharma, maybe to go out and practice more, listen to more people's sharings, or ask other people for their experience. How can we deal with this kind of situation in a way that not only our intention is the right intention, but actually the result is also a good result. So I think that comes back to this compassion and wisdom. And in terms of what kind of karma that you get out of that, I mean, karma is inconceivable, so it's very hard to say about. But I think if we are sincere, people will with time see our sincerity. So hopefully we'll not cause any long-term damage to our relationships. Sister Stephanie, let me know if that answered your questions, or if that's what you had in mind with your question. And I will be, yeah, and if not, then please reformulate, and I will see if I can respond to what you actually meant. Thank you. So actually, during a period of time, I was staying at the abode for about a year after my wife's passing, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And I actually did join in the pure practitioner system for a period of time. I was in that pure practitioner process for about 6 years before I left that system early last year, so about 1.5 years ago. And I'm so grateful to Master and to the Dharma Masters and to the Jing community. It helped me tremendously during the time after my wife's passing, and it really, I believe that it really helped my spiritual practice. But I'm also very aware that we all have our different causes and conditions. And in the end, I realized that my path is not the path of a pure practitioner, but the path of a lay practitioner living in society. So for the last 1.5 years or so, I have no longer been a pure practitioner, and I'm very happy with every choice that I've made, and I'm very excited about making use of everything that I've learned in this life as inside society. I'm still working full-time for Tzu Chi. I'm still volunteering with Tzu Chi. So don't worry, I'm still on the path. As I know that all of you who are on this call, you're all on the path as well. So no need to worry about me, no need to show any tears in the chat at all. I'm very happy, and I'm sure that all of you are very happy as well. So then there is this really interesting question: how do we measure our progress? I mean, in the small vehicle practice, you have these different levels, the 4 different fruits, and you can attain arahatship or arahathood in the end. But as a bodhisattva practitioner, how do we measure our progress? Well, the way that Master puts it is that as we go out and work with people, and when we encounter different situations, we should look at our own reactions. And also, to some extent, the reactions of other people, but we need to be a little bit careful there, because sometimes if we're too eager to please other people, we might end up doing what's called panyuan, or forcing affinities. So that's a little bit more problematic. But when we look at our own reactions, we will know where we are in our progress. If someone says something that used to really upset us, and we have only love and compassion and gratitude for that person, then we have definitely increased our level a little bit. So this is one way to do it. And of course, another way to measure our progress, I mean, as we go about, I mean, we still need to maintain that right mindfulness, right action, right views, and really be aware of ourselves and be aware of the 5 poisons: greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. So as we are walking on the Bodhisattva path, we'll naturally come to the 3rd great vow. And this is the reason why I took the 4th noble truth before the 3rd, because the 4th noble truth, the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering, corresponds to the 3rd great vow. And the 3rd great vow is there are infinite Dharma doors and I vow to learn them all. And the way that Master explains this is that every single person that we meet is a sutra, is a Dharma door to learn from. And what Buddha says about this is that there are 84,000 different afflictions and there are 84,000 Dharma doors to treat each of these 84,000 different afflictions. And in our own life, we will have a large number of afflictions, but maybe not 84,000. But if we go out among the people and we experience their afflictions and their suffering, and then we keep finding ways to counter this particular or treat this particular affliction, then we will keep learning new Dharma doors. And of course, studying the sutras, studying the books is super important because the Buddha was the greatest role model that we can have. Listening to Master's teachings is super important because she's such an amazing teacher and an amazing role model for all of us. But it cannot beat going out among people, really engage in the Bodhisattva practice and practice our compassion and wisdom in parallel, and learning a Dharma door from every person that we encounter. So in this way, we'll naturally make the 3rd great vow. And this vow is just as important as the first 2 to get closer toward Buddhahood. And the final noble truth, which is usually put as the 3rd noble truth, is the truth of cessation. And in the small vehicle teachings, so cessation refers to arathood. So when the Buddha taught at the Jeta Grove, using skillful means to bring awakening to the 5 original monastics, the 5 bhikshu, he taught about eliminating afflictions and freedom from samsara. So arathood is the 4th fruit of the small vehicle, and this is the cessation of all afflictions and is often called nirvana, or as Master puts it, the small vehicle nirvana. So that is a state of complete peace. You have stepped out of the constant churning of afflictions and thoughts in our mind, and the constant cycle of rebirth, always getting born, aging, illness, death, born, aging, illness, death, over and over again. So arathood is stepping out of this, and this is the small vehicle truth of cessation. But the way that Master teaches it, she will always focus on the great vehicle truth of cessation, which is Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, supreme, universal, and perfect enlightenment. And this is when we have perfected both our wisdom and our blessings, meaning we have widely made good affinities. And then, rather than stepping out of the cycle, we actually keep coming back. We vow to come back, and we journey back to this world on our vows. So Master always says that the Buddha is always coming back. And she sometimes puts it as after the Buddha entered parinirvana 2,500 years ago, how many times has he been back? And is he here among us right now? I remember in one morning volunteer assembly, she talked about this particular volunteer who has done so much amazing work in Haiti. And she said, maybe he is the Buddha who is back to teach us through his example. So the way that, I mean, in the great vehicle understanding of cessation, it's not about stepping out. it's about stepping in and becoming fully immersed in the world and becoming one with the universe, and then leaving this world and coming back over and over to keep delivering sentient beings. So the Buddha has not, just because he attained Buddhahood, he did not let go of the 4 great vows. He is still practicing these 4 great vows at all times. And this is called Great Vehicle Nirvana. So when we talk about Nirvana, there are 2 kinds of Nirvana. There's a small vehicle Nirvana, which is also called extinction. And there is the Great Vehicle Nirvana, which is when we have rid ourselves of all, not only all our afflictions, but even our dust-like delusions, the tiniest little delusions that only come out when we go among people and they keep pushing our buttons and they keep poking us through that constant friction between people. That's when our dust-like afflictions come out. And we need to keep practicing to get rid of these for countless kalpas. And once we have done that, we can attain Buddhahood. But there is one more thing that we need, and that is widely making good affinities. So there was this story, and I have a little bit of time, so I'll tell it. And I'm sure that you might all have heard it before, about when one of the previous Buddhas, he had 2 disciples that were so outstanding, and one was Maitreya and one was Sakyamuni. And Maitreya was considered the greatest in wisdom, but Sakyamuni had made more affinities with sentient beings. So that is why Sakyamuni was the one who attained the prediction to become the next Buddha. And Maitreya would have to wait one more time. He had to keep practicing to get even more good affinities in order to attain Buddhahood. So once we understand, or at least get a glimpse of the beauty of this state, the state of cessation in the great vehicle, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, then we cannot help but giving rise to the 4th great vow, which is that the path to Buddhahood is unsurpassed, and I vow to accomplish it. I will not rest. I will keep practicing until I have accomplished Buddhahood. I will keep going among people. I will keep making good affinities, and I will keep ridding myself of afflictions and dust-like delusions until I have reached Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, and I will be able to attain Buddhahood. And I will not stop, even at that point. And I believe one really important part about this that Master stresses so often is that this vow is not like the vow to attain Arhathood, which is about relief of suffering for ourselves. The reason you vow to become a Buddha is because you want to relieve the suffering of all sentient beings, not just in this world, in all worlds, not just at this time, but throughout all future. So this vow comes out of that complete lack of self. If we want to attain Buddhahood because we think it would be so cool to be a Buddha, that's great, but it won't get you there. So it would be pretty cool, but still. So yeah, this was what I wanted to share about the 4 Noble Truths and the 4 Great Vows. The 4 Noble Truths, of course, you can all recite it. Please recite with me: suffering, causation, the path, and cessation. And I do it in this order because it corresponds to the 4 Great Vows. Suffering, when we understand suffering, we'll naturally want to deliver all sentient beings. When we understand causation, we will want to completely eliminate causation, not just from ourselves, but from all sentient beings by eliminating all afflictions. Once we understand that there is a path to cease suffering once and for all, then we will want to walk this path and learn all Dharma doors. And finally, once we realize what true cessation is about, then we'll naturally make the vow to attain Buddhahood. And that ends my sharing. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. And if you have any questions, there are 2 more minutes. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, please feel free to. Otherwise, I will hand it back to our host. Thank you so much.
Wonderful sharing, Brother Johan. Okay, we see Sister Stephanie raising the hand, is it? Please feel free to ask. You can unmute yourself, Sister, if you have a question.
I want to ask how we know that what our decision is right.
How we know that our decision is the right decision? Was that what you meant? Just so I heard you clearly.
Yes, that's my question.
Yes. That's a really wonderful question, and I think maybe Master Nien would also be willing to share her thoughts on this decision. But I think on this question, I think if we know that the decision we make is not only for ourselves, but also for the good of everyone, then I think that we know that it's the right decision. That's how I would answer that. We had another question, which is, what made me decide to become a lay practitioner and not a pure practitioner? I think it's just a matter of my causes and conditions. So before I became a pure practitioner, I always had a companion in life. And I realized as a pure practitioner that there is a collective. I mean, there is the great family of the abode, the monastics, and of course the pure practitioners, especially the brothers, that are absolutely wonderful and absolutely amazing. But for me, I realized that I actually need to find a single person that can be my companion in my spiritual practice. Because the way that I can interact with and share my life with a single person is different from the way that I can interact with and share with a collective. So I think that's really what made me decide that it was not the right path for me. I also think for me personally, I realized that for my spiritual practice, I think having that even one more step towards going among people by being fully a part of the community and a part of society was also one reason why I made this decision. So yeah, I'm sharing very openly with all of you right now. Thank you.
Brother Johan, for the amazing sharing. Okay, brothers and sisters, if any questions, do continue to leave at the chat, or you can text us. We will pass it to Brother Johan. Okay, meanwhile, we'll pass it to our abode master. Over to our abode masters.
Hi, good morning. Auspicious greeting to everyone, especially for our brother Johan. Actually, today I was about late, I think around 30 minutes, more than that. But due to I have 2 duties I have to complete before I can join this Zoom meeting. But anyway, I just listened to the last part that Brother Johan just mentioned, that how do we measure our progress, and he has shown and shared with us there's few ways that for his own perspective on his understanding regarding how we can measure our own progressing for our own spiritual cultivation. And I listened that I learned that he said that is look at our own reaction when we work with people. This is very directly we can see how much improved we have been doing since through the whole years of engage in this Buddhist society and how we have learned the Dharma from Master. This is very directly we can know, because the way we show our face expressions and the way we speak up and the sound is people listen like, oh, you are really happy or you are unhappy, is very directly, you can show that. And the second, he also mentioned about beware of our 5 poisons, because since we say we want to engage in spiritual cultivation, no matter we are lay person or people like us, is already become monastic, part of the already renowned as Buddhist nuns. But are we still really aware of we attach to this 5 poison regarding like certain thing that make me unhappy, and I feel like I think this is this is a very good I think this is a very good way for us to really to reflect how much we have learned from Master's teaching. But anyway, due to the time, it's already 45 minutes, and I think today is very honor for us to invite our Master Tzu Chi, and she is my senior master, and she has been working and devout also for more than 10 years experience in our Sally factory for fruit production department, and she know very well much about how when we want to do the international relief for the food distribution and instant rice, and now we are very familiar with this Jing herbal tea, all this process, and she involved is very undoubtedly. And so I think now is the time for our Master Tzu Chi to share with us regarding recently, especially for this crisis of this COVID-19, what is the wisdom that guide from our Master Cheng regarding our Jing abroad, what we can do for the society and what we have to contribute to this COVID-19, to this prevention for this infection, and so that we can't wait to hear from Master Tzu Chi. And today she is going to be conduct with using the Mandarin, so maybe we need some people to help us to do some translation. Thank you. So I pass the time over to our Master Tzu Chi. Thank you.
Thank you, Master Huang. How are you, everybody?
Show the slides.
Yeah. Sorry, because a long time no speak English, so the time is very short, very hurry. So I did not prepare with the English. So this time share with everybody with Mandarin, and my PowerPoint also is Mandarin. So even next time, maybe in a long time to prepare the English. So actually, since 2020 until now, COVID-19 still not come down. Very in all of the world, it's very 严峻. Now in Taiwan also since I think May, after from the Buddha Days 还有浴佛节，还有我们的周年庆之后suddenly 无常 coming, so it's very strongly heavy. Before, I think everybody know our master say we should prepare to help India because they have very strongly the COVID-19. So actually at that time we are prepared Jing herbal tea in that time already. So after Taiwan COVID-19 strongly, so we use the prepared Jing herbal tea to supply to Taiwan So that is quite actually still not enough. Everybody is needed. I show you the one picture.
我们的生命。
You can see the PowerPoint, the picture. Ginseng herbal tea is everybody needed, but difficult to get it because the product is just actually the material also is need to get it. There's one more Cao, because before not everybody know this more Cao, so nobody to 种植哈 to plant so now we still 我们还缺少这个墨草，所以这个生产上面就会比较有一点困难。不过我们的协力厂 everybody 是非常非常的去努力的去try to get it。现在在台湾，尤其是就是我们已经到达第3期的，所以在人流上面是没有办法去互动我们尽量就是 stay at home 所以before 我们协力厂很多的志工volunteer come to help us, but now we don't have a volunteer come to help us because it's not allowed. So our products 全部都是由我们的金色的师父来协助令我们很感动的是，金色师父平常就有在所有的工作上的付出，所以他们的效率还有他们的wisdom 他们的智慧其实是非常高的。只要虽然没有做过，可是一旦进入这个场域，马上大家就已经能够上手，而且效率非常非常的好。我们一天在净师本草饮的方面可以达到600相当于49箱乘以600将近有1万多包。那前阵子我们也有在我们的基金会有发送一些物资给我们的内政部去帮忙一些警消人员，所以同时我们在生产线上一天可以生产10版的，比如说米粉跟冬粉，所以可见的我们的师傅们虽然没有志工来协助，可是大家合心合力，只要有个共同的目标，我们就可以达成。尤其上人很鼓励有一个想跟大家分享，就是有一件事情因为我们每次如果在大寮工作完，师傅们就会去随师那随师的时候就会听上人在跟一些基金会或是跟一些我们的菩萨们一些互动。那有一次上人就知道说我们协力场很需要人，就跟旁边的随师的师傅说，现在协力场很忙，你们赶快过去帮忙不要在这里，你们赶快过去帮忙这就是我们由我们的随师的菩萨们师父们跟我们分享的。那所以上人其实也非常的就是着急，而且在我们中路市的一些师父们还有一些菩萨们也会帮我们贴标纸包装这是一些可以往外面下去包装的部分。那现在就是回归要跟大家分享，就是净师本草饮对 OK， 这个净师本草饮是在去年的年底的时候，我们花莲慈济医院的研究团队由林兴隆院长还有何副还有黄副院长带领的研究团队，每个礼拜3早上都会回来跟上人汇报，欢迎对于我们这些中药草的一些研究的一些方向一些确效的一些部分都会回来跟上人报告。 所以其实这个净师本草饮，也就是在去年经过这样的一些汇报之后，发现这个加入墨草跟艾草的效用是非常好。我们来看一下，在这个里面的实力。好，大家有看到哈，在我们本草饮里面有一个艾草跟墨草其实是上人在回忆的时候，他说年轻的时候，小时候他们常常觉得说那个墨草是在去商家之后回来之后都会用墨草来净身那艾草是在端午节的时候就是家家户户都会挂一个艾草跟那个一些药草来辟邪，所以上人就想到说，这些药草是外用的，那不知道说我们大医王可不可以去做一些研究，去确效说这些艾草跟墨草对于我们现在这个疫情有没有可以帮忙到的。好，那真的是李院长就林欣宏院长的确也是非常的护法，就像上人说医院真的是一个大护法，他们听了上人的一个开示之后，马上就积极行动，下一次的一个报告的时候就回复给上人说，哎呀，这个艾草跟墨草加入进去的时候，其实不用加入其他那6种的时候，艾草跟墨草它的效能就非常非常的大。所以从这方面上人就说，那这样的话我们就可能要积极的来做这个本草饮。所以从去年年底的时候，我们就开始做净师本草饮就是大量的生产大量的寻找这些原料，那也真是不可思议。上人希望我们做多少的时候，这个不可思议的事情就这样发生。做到这个量之后，我们就没有这个原料，所以在今年度的4月份，我们又开始去准备，因为印度的疫情非常的严重，所以我们就开始准备这些净师本草饮没想到印度疫情我们还没帮忙上的时候，反而对于台湾疫情突然严峻，我们就派上用场了。那目前我们净师本草饮还有生产另外一款叫做净师本草饮的 liquid packet， 就是浓缩液。来，大家可以看到这个浓缩液它是非常方便的，因为像我们先前的那个本草饮的那个茶包，它是必须要用泡的，或是用烹煮的。那我们这个 liquid 就是等于相当于就是1包的茶包用20倍浓缩，所以才有变成15ml。它是方便，也就是我们有确诊不方便去泡煮的还有就是说随身携带的，它的效能是非常好。那经过这次，因为刚开始的时候，我们这个浓缩液是不对外去不上书县的那个门市，因为它的产量不多你们可以看到，它是在2021年5月28号才由那个厂商，我们跟委外的厂商去做一个合作也是就是去积极找到愿意帮我们去生产的一个厂商，我们提供原料给他们，他们帮我们代工。其实这个排程一般都需要到2个月以上，可是疫情非常的严重，所以我们就跟副总还有韩师傅就跟这家厂商，这家厂商非常非常的大，他是行销全球，他愿意共善他觉得说这是一件非常好的事情，能够帮助大家让疫情由严重就是重病的人转为轻重，轻重人转为恢复康复，这是非常重要的一件事情。所以他们赶在20几天完成了首批，大概是30万小包，相当于将近2万盒的这个浓缩液那这部分也在前几天已经回到我们厂里面了那我们也就透过书宣有配送到书宣去，马上书宣的回馈是说，师父，我们已经一下子就已经 销售了，尤其是那个花莲慈院的同仁回复说，马上就已经没有了，需要更多的一些量出来。不过我们已经有跟厂商下了第2批是在30号会回来，紧接着我们还有继续生产，所以也告诉马来西亚的菩萨们，我们这一次也会配送大概100箱马来西亚，因为其实马来西亚的疫情也非常非常的严重，据我们在那个新闻的信息来讲，大概是每天大概7、8千人确诊，我们也非常的不舍。不过真的是马来西亚的菩萨们对于台湾的疫情，他们也是非常的紧张，很多的分享告诉我们这些在国内的一些有确诊的一些菩萨们怎么样去预防这一些很多的讯息的互相的交流，他们也非常的关心我们台湾的菩萨们的疫情。那这次我们将近就是会在茶包方面师父们也是不断的在生产那请大家也是就放心，我们会大概是在7月的时候它的数量就可以达到比较正常的供应，因为原料也是陆续的回来，尤其因为这个原料是在国内的在台湾的部分，还有远在我们从大陆，因为这是从福建广州那边，因为中药材很多都是从大陆过来的，那我们有原来的 source， 那也有麻烦我们在大陆的菩萨们真的这几天大概应该有1、2个礼拜吧已经请大陆的菩萨们积极的寻找这个墨草，那也得到相当的回馈，那也感恩我们国内的进口商我们配合的一个进口商愿意帮我们协助办理进来，因为这个中药草它必须要有 license 的不管在 export 跟 import 都需要 license 的，不是像一般的 trading company 可以进的，所以也是很感恩，就是说大概在月底我们可以有足够的量，那我们会加紧感恩赶进度来生产这是在协力厂这一方面我们可以进行的。那最重要的是还是上人一直在提，其实这个疫情到现在都没有办法平息，主要就是因为我们没有办法全部的去鼓励所有的凡夫了，应该是凡夫了众生们去如数我们现在来听一段上人对我们的开示。
我们的生命不是靠动物活下去，我们要靠的呢是五谷杂粮。身体有病，靠的大地药草，佛经内底不就是药草屁病吗？是药草屁多祥和现在杀破病这大地上人病地病而且空气大自然也病了现在正需要的是化药医，大家赶快回过头来，这要赶紧服用。如何佛法如何说我们要如何接受？
我们刚才看到上人的开始其实我们的身体事实上只需要五谷杂粮不需要一些荤的那些肉食的， 因为其实肉食一般的就是思维是肉食是有提供蛋白质，其实更优质的蛋白质是在五谷杂粮里面啊，那个豆类里面的。所以上面又说，我们身体有病靠的是大地的药草啊。那其实这是药草批评里面有说，那在现在整个地球都已经病了啊，娑婆世界已经病了，所以我们现在也需要啊有形的啊，像药草啊这一些。虽然我们有疫苗，其实疫苗因为病毒一再的在变种，疫苗赶不上病毒的变种，唯有我觉得说，唯有我们人心啊，我们要有法要医，要能够去戒慎虔诚的去茹素是最重要的。那这个目前我可以跟最近刚刚早上我收到一个信息啊，就是我们南非菩萨啊有一家公司啊，他们也知道南非也是疫情也是很严峻，那他有就是公司的那个同仁们有些有确诊，那确诊的时候。公司非常好，他说确诊的时候他们会就待在家里，他们会提供净式本草饮跟那个就是大陆的一个清音1号。那他也分享到说，之前这些确诊的都是因为没有喝没有喝净式本草饮，有喝净式本草饮的时候都没有确诊啊。这是师姐跟我们分享的啊，就是我早上收到的一个讯息啊，跟大家分享。那其实最近我们也是非常非常多的讯息，关于我们花莲慈院在收治了很多的病患，其中有一位老先生他是非常的严重，已经重病了，确诊是重病的插管的，可能就是希望非常的渺茫，可是因为院长们用中西医合疗。也是给他喝我们的净式本草饮，结果这位老先生就从重病转为轻症之后，最近就出院了。他其实是在6月10号就可以出院的，可是他到好像是前几天6月17号才出院。为什么？因为他的家族都确诊了，他的孩子们是住在另外的医院，结果另外医院。孩子们都还没有恢复，结果老先生已经很早就已经恢复了，可是要等孩子们全部都恢复的时候才能够接他，所以到了17号才由家里人来接他回去所以这些孩子们也很感恩我们花莲慈院这样的用心的一个照护。那另外一个讯息就是说我们。台北慈院赵院长他们在台北也是非常的严峻的一个疫情，所以台北慈院收治了很多很多的病患，确诊的病患大概有200-300位。那因为我们先前也有送了一个浓缩液给台北慈院，大概1万多包，我觉得这本来是要给护理人员的，就赵院长他们很慈悲。他觉得确诊的病患，他们用对照组，就是说他们会在跟询问病人说，我如果用这个本草饮给您喝，您要吗？所以他们会有对照组，有喝的跟没有喝的相较起来，觉得有喝的它都改善的非常的快，非常的快速。其实非常非常多的一些案例尤其就是说我们有一位师兄。他也是确诊了，还有他的师姐也确诊了。结果师兄是住在和平医院，师姐是住在那个三德的防疫旅馆。那我们听到这个信息的时候，我们非常紧张。那这个信息也就是我们由台南的师兄，其实这个台南师兄就是这位师兄的一个贵人，因为他在群组里面发布的讯息说，这个确诊的师兄发布的讯息说。我确诊了，可是我要活下去。结果这个台南的师兄发现这个讯息，他就很紧张，就打电话回来我们协力场跟师父们求救，说是因为那个本草饮其实因为在门市已经就是说很难取得，所以他们想说，打电话回来协力场 有没有办法取得这个本草饮，赶快寄给师兄们饮用。结果我们收到这个电话之后，我们就讨论，因为我们最初的时候，那个浓缩液是只提供给第一线的警消人员或确诊的所以我们收到这个讯息，马上就各寄了3袋给师兄跟师姐。那这是这些那个师兄们师姐喝了之后就有一些回馈，他说他刚开始的时候，他的那个胸是胀的，而且是嗅觉跟味觉都没有了喝了就是本草饮之后，浓缩液之后，大概2天之后，味觉跟嗅觉都恢复了，胀痛的部分也缓和了。那最近我有在了解，他们说他们就已经出院了都恢复得很好。那师兄也忏悔说，他之前就是只发愿初一十五吃斋，就是吃素其他时间他依旧是荤食。可以经过这一次之后，他发愿生生世世都茹素他真的很忏悔。我说那您要很真诚的去例行这个茹素我觉得这样也是等于是妄语他说他确实他已经从那一天开始他就已经茹素了。所以其实很多很多的案例在这里没有办法说一一跟大家分享。不过上人真的在上周的医疗汇报的时候就开始这段话。净施本草饮，是药非药，喝就对了的确，其实我们的本草饮它不是一个药品，它是一个食品它像药又不像药，它喝了就是对我们身体是非常好的这有经过我们实验确效说，它这个药草都没有毒的。而且我们在针对艾叶跟墨草有进一步的一些研究，有对于肝肺还有那个我们帕金森症等还有我们一些乳癌方面都有在做很多的相关的研究研究的成果还一一都已经确效说我们的那个净施本草饮真的对大家都非常有帮助。所以每一周我们的团队都会回来跟上人报告他的进度。最重要我们还是这个上人也开始说大地草木含藏治病良方。所以我们天地之间无不是药，天地含藏治病的药，有病一定有药可医。所以这次疫情我们很感恩大地有这样的一个药草能够来治疗的确也看到它的一个效果真的是林院长也一再的他发言说要让重病转为轻症，轻症转为康复让我们花莲慈院没有任何一个能够就是能够有发生那个死亡的案例。他期待每个人都可以健康出院。感恩大家感恩，祝福大家。
Thank you for our Master DeQing sharing. Truly, we are benefiting a lot. As we know that now, with the resources of the manpower, who are able to come back to our Jing factory to help us to do the packaging and to do all this planting. Because now in our Jing abroad, we have our masters they already been plant the seed of this herbals to grow out by our own. Instead of sometimes we worry that we have shortage of the resources for this herbals that we need to use for this ginseng herbal tea. So we plant ourselves, especially for the aitao and the mocha. So I don't know what you call in English because it's very difficult for me to pronounce. Yeah. Anyway, so I truly very touched and moved by what Master DeQing shared with us regarding there's a witnesses of drinking after or before they drink our ginseng herbal tea, whether it's the packaging patch or for the original tea bags, or with a form of tea bags or with a form of liquid package. So I think definitely I think that is now is the right time for us to do this promoted, not just for veganism, but I think the best way is for us to promote vegan. So, and also we need to let more people know about this good product, our Jing herbal tea. So this is like a drug, but not a drug. 是药非药, but Master say just drink it, do just right thing and do it. Just like what a question asking our brother Johan, how do we know the decision that I made is correct? I think at this moment, since our Malaysians volunteers been shared with our master, and also our master Tzu Chi also shared just now regarding during this crisis COVID-19, a lot of infected patients, after they believe our Jing herbal tea and they started to drink, and now they recover very soon and they can discharge from the hospital. I think this is a good example that we can share that is not why not try? I think this is the best for just try it here. It's not harm to us, to our body and health. Yeah, I think, thank you for your time to listen to our Master Tzu Chi. As she said that hopefully next time she can prepare more to share with using English, because recently truly she's very busy, because every time when I meet, I hardly got a chance to meet our Master Tzu Chi. We are stay at the same level on the third floor, but sometimes it's difficult for me to meet him at that place, because she also very busy until a very late night. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for our masters who contribute the time to Jing's factory to help us to safeguard for everyone's safety and healthy. Thank you. I pass it over to Sister Xiaoqing. Thank you.
感恩的亲师父，感恩黄师父，感恩 Brother Johan for lots of heartfelt and wisdom sharing。哇，这非常非常很感恩，是我们很期待的亲师父多一点跟我们分享吧。We are very grateful and look forward to more wisdom from our master. I'm sure all of us are truly have a lot of heartfelt session today and lots of wisdom with us. 感恩。Thank you, brothers and sisters. 感恩师父。